And everybody is suffering for it.
Good morning, everyone. I would like to start with a quote by Thomas Edison. He said that thinking is the hardest thing to do. That's why so few engage in it. You know, the law, or many people don't think about many things. But then if you have a law that is put there that you are forced to do, you will end up doing it because it's universal and applies to everyone. So by the time you catch up with your thinking, you're already doing it and then it becomes part of you. So that's why I think law is necessary. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. Anybody else want to say anything? All right, so let's go to the movie. Let's watch a movie there. There is a video there that I would like us to watch. Not movie, but video. Here we go.
Chaos on the streets of Beirut, ignited by tensions over a month-long waste crisis. Thousands of protesters came face to face with riot police as they descended upon the government's headquarters, undeterred by the water cannons and tear gas being fired at them. Tanks rolled in after the army was called to control the clashes. Politicians have been unable to decide on where to dump.
Peace was restored after tanks, military, police was brought to the street. Law and order. If not, law and order wouldn't have been enforced if the police have not come. If law and order would not have been restored. It was broken down until enforcement came. That's who people are. People are weak. People are unruly if you don't have a system to enforce the law. People don't always do what is right. Just like Busola says, if you are aware that nobody is no consequences, you break it. Okay, let's continue.
Dump the rubbish piling up in the Lebanese capital since the main landfill was closed in July. The Prime Minister is calling for calm.
I am extending my hand to members of civil society to tell them that I'm ready to listen to them and sit and have a discussion with them so we can work together during this testing time.
Lebanon's cabinet will meet in the coming week to tackle the problem, but it could be too little too late.
Tamam Salam has shown he's completely incapable of finding solutions. He has no clear vision of the situation.
The government is without doubt responsible for this situation. That includes Tamam Salam. We are calling for his immediate resignation. Patience has its limits. People have run out of patience.
The protests are symbolic of a wider malaise. Political splits mean Lebanon has had no head of state for more than a year. A divided cabinet is currently in charge.
And that
people are complaining that Buhari was away from the country for 2 months. No head of state for 2 months in Nigeria. Here is 1 year. Yeah. The president, no president, no head of state. Okay, let's go back to our class.
God came up with only one solution: to preserve, rule, and manage Israel. That solution is in law, which eventually leads to order.
Law leads to order. Okay. I thought you were supposed to show this. This is what you were supposed to show, girl. You were supposed to show Israel. And you went and did something else. Israel is having one of the top and best police force and defense force and secret force in the world. They are one of the best in the world. Especially Secret Service. So why is that needed? Like, I was telling you about Israel. That is the most one of unruly people in the world. Well, this is not just for terrorists, even their own people. This is the kind of thing Nigeria needs. We need serious law enforcement agency and system. And despite the fact that Israel is the country with the most difficult people in the world, but their country is one of the most orderly and the most organized. And reason for it, they put enforcement in place. Rules work, law work, enforcement. And this is something that we almost know, that without enforcement, people don't automatically do what is right. It is enforcement that helps them. Okay, let's go back to the notes. Okay.
Exodus 34, 27 to 28. And the Lord said unto Moses, write thou these words, for after the tenor of these words I have made a covenant with thee and with Israel. And he was there with the Lord 40 days and 40 nights. He did neither eat bread nor drink water. And he wrote upon the tables the words of the covenants, the 10 commandments.
Okay. That is the root. I was telling you how it came from, where it came from, and how. Okay.
Today, the
10 commandments came because of the situation on ground.
Today, the only way to bring sanity to community of men is by enforcing law and order.
Pay attention to the word enforcing. Enforcing. Because it doesn't make any good to have law if we no enforcement of it. It doesn't make any good to have order, to have law if there is no enforcement. Only the enforcement of law leads to order. Law itself is just like knowing the truth. It's just like the truth, saying the truth is there. You should know the truth. Only the truth that you know will make you free if you act on it. The same thing here. If you are not enforcing law, order will still never come.
Those who love peace must learn to organize as effectively as those who love war.
Can you believe that? If you want peace, be as organized as those people who are going to war. To have peace, you must also have enforcement, force. Organize yourself like an army of enforcing army. Enforcement as if you are going to war. You must love peace and enforce it as people who are going to war. That's Martin Luther King Jr. who said that.
There will be no harmony, peace, and rest among people, and even between people and God, without law and order.
Yep.
Societies and nations are only successful by how much they enforce law and order.
Now, here, we have to stop. And I will need you people to come out again and prove to us why that is true. Why is this statement true? And, okay, let me ask you another question. If this statement is true, if this statement is not true, why is it that U.S. is not in the top 10 most safest and peaceful countries in the world? England is not there. France is not there. Because of this statement. Let's go see the statement again. Because of the statement. Societies and nations are only successful by how much they enforce law and order. Even though those countries are rich, they are richer than some of these countries that are there. But in those countries, they enforce law more diligently than in the US. The least of those 10 countries we saw was Singapore. And has anybody been to Singapore before? What have you read about Singapore? Who will say you have seen any country where they enforce law like that? Or Scandinavia? Me, I cannot live in Scandinavia, even though I'm preaching about law and order. I would rather live in Ukraine. Because their own is too much. Even tax alone. So I want you to put to the level that a society obeys or enforces law, and to that is that society successful. To that level is the society successful, especially in peace. Who wants to prove that to us? Yeah, or examples.
Yeah, a nation needs rules and laws to know what they can expect. Because if there are no rules and laws, it will ultimately lead to an anarchy. Yep. And why I think that America and even Holland is not on the list of the most safety countries, those countries are mostly known for their liberal. Yeah. That they are liberal.
Very good.
And if
Beautiful.
they are liberal, yeah, then you cannot you don't know what to expect. Yep. You can do anything you want. Yeah.
Beautiful.
I would like to cite an example, like, for example, our country, Nigeria. I know that it's very difficult for people to
Speak louder.
It's very difficult for people to work in the night, like probably late in late hours. Why? Is because there is no law and order. But for instance, when I was in Belarus, I was working freely, like I don't mind the time.
Yeah.
Why? Because there is law and order. So
even though you are a black man.
Yes.
In a white man's country.
Yeah, I was working confidently because I know that there is law and order, and nobody can do any harm to me. So that is the power of order and law.
So is Belarus more prospered and more peaceful than Nigeria?
Very well.
You see? Yeah. The more there is enforcement of law, the more there is order, and the more there is prosperity in the country. Okay?
To capital, actually, I will say that most of those countries, 5 countries that are actually really picked from the list, I realized that, their population is very low, very low. And that comes probably from that everything is regulated, including, and when we look at the
including birth?
Including birth, yeah.
And including immigration, and including they just don't allow anything anyhow. And they don't have many children. Everything is regulated. Income is regulated, everything.
And that proves proves that as well from yesterday's film from Malaysia that we looked at, because they probably, because of their population, they need more people in the population. So the government had to actually really encourage, make another law to encourage people, because in that film they said there were female graduates.
That was not about Malaysia, that was about Singapore.
Singapore, sorry. And that the government encouraged them to actually really get married. So everything is regulated. So, and I think, that's my.
Can Nigeria ever get there?
I think We could get there if we start regulating and enforcing law, really. We could get there, I believe. I believe we could do that. Yeah, it's possible. It is.
Yes, that statement is correct, because let me use China as a case.
What statement?
That every society is as successful as
the enforcement of law and order. Yeah, no, you don't need to.
Of law and order. Let me use China for example. A friend of mine, a Chinese, was telling me that when the government, when they saw that the population is skyrocketing, is going way beyond their control, they introduced law that every family should only have one. And when you have another one, you start paying the government.
Oh!
Yeah, and it's not a small amount of money. You have to really pay. So that thing now made them though some people were having, the ones that are okay to pay the government, they were going for 2, 3, but so many of them had to stick to that one. Why? Because the law was enforced, and people that were having more than one were paying it. So it brought sanity to the population control in their country. So
everything depends on
the enforcement
of the law.
On how much that law is enforced. So creating a law is a different thing, but enforcing it, the force. Sometimes it makes me remember that, like now we say, whenever anybody remembers, why we say there is no place like Niger.
Because there is no law.
There's no law. Everything goes. So for us, it's like fun when we remember, we say, oh, there is no place like Niger. It's just a place where you know that when you can drink and drive, you can do anything. But when you are in the Western world, you know, even when you are driving, you want to drink more, you say, no, I'm driving. I'm driving. But once you get to Nigeria, everybody throw that in away. You don't even talk about it, because you know that.
And we think it's a good thing.
And because we think it's a good thing. So that's the thing, because there is no agency that was built to enforce. And that is what is lacking in Nigeria. Enforcement is lacking in Nigeria. As much as now that we are discovering the blessings of law and order, then it makes it more important to actually create enforcers.
To say that blessed in law and order to a Nigerian mind, it would be like, what do you mean? It's two different things that cannot. How can you say blessing?
When you
as if they are two opposite.
When you put the topic here, the first day, I'm like, this kind of HNT be this one. You think consign blessing and why do I need order? That's how you always look at it, like, waiting be this one again. Law and order, blessings of law and order. It doesn't go with me. But now that we are going deeper, we begin to understand that even from the Bible, it was a catastrophe.
Yeah.
It was a
God was among them. Even fact, God couldn't help.
Even when Jesus was talking about divorce, he was saying in the beginning, it's the same law and order he was talking about. The same law and order, but we were not seeing it. We are not thinking about it, because we have never seen it as being a blessing. We have always seen it as God being hard. Just like the children of Israel, they were seeing it like
wickedness.
God being wicked to them by giving them laws that they have to obey. So it's actually a true statement. Yeah.
So I want to say that it made me think of Germany as an example, that the statement of if the societies and nations are only as successful as the laws that they enforce, or by yes. So even if a country, for instance, does not have
by how much they enforce the law.
Okay, by how much they enforce the law. Even if a country doesn't have natural resources, for example, or
like Germany doesn't have natural resources.
Yes, but they're still very much respected all over the world, and globalization.
One of the most respected.
Yes, globalization works for them, economy works for them just because they're so well organized. And so because of that, because of the fact that they're enforcing their law and order, everyone is looking for them. So I'm thinking, because a society or a nation is able to enforce their law and order, people will look for you, nations will look for you, and this will make you successful.
And everybody wants to come and live in Germany.
Exactly. Even outside of Germany, people are looking for Germans to work for them because they're so organized and they know that they're going to be creating quality products or working in a very qualitative, highly qualitative way. So that's one of the things I was thinking.
So, but why is it that this thing looks so elementary when we are talking about it now? Law, order. But why is it that it's one of the things you don't even hear about? In fact, even in the West, the only time you hear about law and order is when they are talking about police, court. But this is everything everywhere, isn't it?
I know for Germany, for instance, law and order is something that we said it already, it's imbibed in the culture, but it's also part of the things that people say unconsciously.
Wow.
So for example, there are phrases that you just say and they depict the picture of law and order.
Like phrases like what?
Phrases like, what was the
one you said?
Vorschriften sind Vorschriften,
which
means regulations are regulations, or trust is good, but control is better. And the other one was, I think, Ordnung muss sein.
What does that mean?
Order must be. Order must be. And it's something you say just like that. You say it in school. You say
there
it
must
at
be
home.
order.
Yes. There must be order, exactly. So you say it everywhere. It's like it's very
It has become lifestyle,
yes.
culture, value system.
Yeah, it's like you just programmed this way, and you don't even notice it. That's the most, for me, that's the most shocking. You don't even notice how organized you are. It's just become normal, and that's why people don't think about it. And that's what I believe is lacking in most African countries, and especially Nigeria, because it's not programmed into the minds of the people. And I think that's what Germany did very well. They were not openly saying, this is what you need, but they were just, how can I say, very subtly programming that into the people so that they automatically
in everything, from primary school, secondary school, kindergarten, in homes, everywhere.
Even before you come to school, or the first time you come to elementary school, they tell you have to be in school 15 minutes before it starts. So you have to sit in the room. You have to leave, prepare
15
your
minutes.
desk 15 minutes before it starts. Everyone is there. You arrive, and that's how it goes. So from the time that you're born, basically, all of these things are enforced. So that's why they're so successful.
Appointment 15 minutes before.
That's the least, actually, so at least 15 minutes before.
Somebody said, I think it was Justine, that if you are a leader or the boss, that you have to be there 1 hour or 30 minutes before. Before the whole thing is supposed to start.
Yeah. And it also creates trust, because people trust in
confidence.
The fact that, confidence. People from outside have confidence in the fact that you're going to do what you say, and that you're going to be integer in your actions and your promises, because otherwise you're trained to the fact that something negative is going to happen. So you just...
That is assurance. It brings security, assurance, rest, peace. Okay, thank you. Yeah. Anybody wants to say anything? Okay.
You asked the question why it is natural here to obey.
In Germany, huh?
Yeah, in Germany or in
Europe.
In Europe or in these in Scandinavia.
Yeah.
I believe that it didn't come naturally, especially when we know the history of Scandinavia or German. They're also called Teutonen or the Viking. They had to go through thanks to law enforcement, they had to go through this discipline, actually, and they knew that when you don't obey, you will have to, there's penalty connected to that. And the reason why it's difficult for Africans or for countries like Nigeria is that we are so used to being chaotic that it repels somebody to have to obey to something. It requires discipline. It requires actually first and foremost the consciousness and then discipline. And it's difficult to realize something and then go through this this burden of discipline.
Yep. That is, yes.
I just want to add briefly, I think the level of leniency in enforcing the law will also determine the level of order you have and the level of peace. For example, you give an example when you went to Germany and you crossed the road when there was no car coming. And you asked the question and we said in London, that doesn't really happen because sometimes you cross the road and you're not arrested or you're not stopped. So I think even in enforcing the law, sometimes when people know that there's an amount of leniency that the government allows, then there's this temptation to still go ahead, even you know that the law is there, and you know that if you break the law, you'll be charged. But at the back of your mind, you still know that, okay, if you are caught by the police might just give you a warning and say, okay, next time don't do it. Or if you do it twice, they'll tell you, okay, next time don't do it. Then maybe the third time, that's when they'll actually enforce it. But in societies whereby once you do it once, you're caught and you are meant to suffer for it.
No leniency.
Yeah, no leniency. Then you have more, more order in the society, which will result in a higher level of peace in the society.
Yes.
Which I think is very important and just crossed through my mind here. In developed countries or Western countries, we have this kind of data system. Data system that whatever goes into your record remains there, and that will always follow you wherever you go. In Africa, we don't have that.
You remember yesterday we were speaking about, database and government. Romans 13. Yeah.
So we don't have that in Africa. So, and that is one of, like just what the last speaker said, that if you have to weigh the consequence, the severe the consequence of your action is, that will deter you from
your disobedience will cost you more.
That's right. So, so remember yesterday when Pastor Sunday was said that policeman was saying, oh, 10 euro, 20 euro. So, so the severity, when the penalty that, oh, it's going to 10, 15, we can see the reaction, how the perpetrator was taking the matter very serious. So, one of the things that people actually really weigh, they weigh that. People that suffers, they say they suffers from anger, they weigh consequence. Yeah. They weigh consequence. When you are in the office, you can control your anger. But when you are at home, you can't control it. So those are the things that, it's the consequence. When you weigh consequences, then you react in a different way. Thank you.
Give it to the boy.
There's something that I wanted to say there was something that I wanted to say, but I forgot when I was standing up. I forgot. But the reason why it's very short. The reason why God flooded the world was because that there was no law and order.
Beautiful. Beautiful. Okay, let's go back to the notes. That is a perfect illustration the flood is as a result of lack of law and order. Deep. Destruction is inevitable when there is no law and order. That's what he said. Okay.
Societies and nations are only successful by how much they enforce law and order.
Okay, let's go back to that other film that were the video that was there previous. No, near Israel. Yeah, 5 countries, yes, with the best police. Why do we need best police services? Because it's enforcement. And everything depends on enforcement, development, security, everything depends on it. Let's go. Do we have sound? Can you put it?
Trusted with the responsibility of protecting the law and the citizens against internal aggression. Each country has its own police unit that is governed by law and follows their own style of enforcing the law. Combating crime and ensuring that the rules and regulations are upheld is each police officer's primary responsibility. We have highlighted a list of the best police officers in the world based on their performance and style of enforcing the law. So here are the 5 countries with the best police forces in the world. Let's begin. Number 5, France. The National Police of France ranks among the most highly trained and professional police forces. It is because of the efforts of these valiant officers that when France was attacked recently by terrorists, many lives were saved. The average police officer in France has not received enough training to do sophisticated activities such as disarming a bomb or doing something that could mean the difference between life and death. This is why the force is categorized into various squads that are trained differently to tackle different scenarios as and when need arises. With this level of organization, it is obvious that they would rank among the best in the world. Number 4, United Kingdom. Famously known as the National Police Force of the United Kingdom, this is one of the best police services in the world owing to their level of discipline and sensitivity. Recently, they launched a campaign to raise awareness of their police number to the public, something that most police services take for granted. They offer their services in such a way that it is customized to suit the public's desire. This means that they do their job according to how the public wants them to do. Professionalism and public protection is what drives this police force. Number 3, Italy. Italy is known for all its beauty and rich ancient history. It is one of the most popular tourist attractions. Its rich history is dotted by episodes of the existence of the mafia during the 18th and 19th century. These were ruthless organized crime gangs that were said to offer protection to peasant families and do all the dirty jobs that cops could not do. The Italian police force ranks among the best because of the professionalism with which they conduct themselves, especially in the face of the challenges that the mafia posed. The Anti-Mafia Police Division was responsible for bringing to justice 2 of the most powerful mafia bosses in the history of Italy. This is probably why they still rank as one of the best. Number 2, United States of America. The United States of America is the largest economy in the world and is also the world's superpower. It is only logical that their police force is among the best in the world. They have the best and most advanced military in the world, and this can be said of their police force as well. The police force in the US is divided into various police departments and have the most advanced backup systems and sophisticated weaponry and tactics to conduct all manner of eventualities, including terror. Apart from the recent happenings that have seen the force accused of being brutal in their use of force, they still rank among the best in the world. Number 1, Japan. Japan is one of the most developed countries in the world. Until a few years ago, it was the world's 2nd largest economy after the United States, and therefore it is no wonder that its police force is among the best trained in the world. The police officers in Japan are trained the same way the US military is trained, which already shows just how good they are at what they do. They have the most sophisticated equipment and are also trained on the best discipline principles of policing. This is to ensure that they are always a step ahead of the criminals. They practically understand how to deal with any eventuality of crime prevention. And there you have 5 countries with the best police forces in the world. If you enjoyed the video, make sure you drop.
Okay. Thank you. Okay. Now, this is only talking about the best police forces in terms of their equipment, in terms of the delivery of their service, in terms of the fact that it's not the safest. That's what I'm saying. Not the safest countries, not the most peaceful countries, but they just police first, how they are being trained, how they are equipped, and things like that. But it still doesn't give the best result. We just saw another list of the most secured countries, the most peaceful countries. All these countries that are here, none of them goes into the most secure or the most peaceful. Because force is good, but the force of individual mental, like in Germany, is much better than this. Individual awareness to enforce law and order in people's consciousness rather than the force from outside. There are two ways to enforce law and order, from inside and from outside. From inside, from awareness, from education, from enlightenment, and then from outside. I don't know if you are getting what I'm saying. Yes, Mark.
And also in terms of financial cost to the nation as well. That suggests that actually those 5 countries are investing more in security, which they could invest on other areas as well. And that is to bring it back home now. In Nigeria, we need such things. We are not investing. Even though the population is, the crime is increasing, but that is lacking in our society as well. So that's how I could analyze that area. The money that those Western nations supposed to be spending as a result of being liberal. A lot of multicultural society is in that country, so that's why they really need to invest. Nigeria, back home, we are not actually doing the same.
Putting money in security, eh?
Pumping money in security. So.
Yeah.